Thank you, thank you. What a great day this is. Wow. Wow, this is extraordinary. Isn't this great? Come on, New Yorkers, don't be so cynical. This is incredible. This is incredible. Look how beautiful this is. I want to acknowledge, we'll be hearing from momentarily, our great majority leader, our Senator, Chuck Schumer, who has done an amazing, amazing job delivering for New York. Thank you, Chuck Schumer. Our Congressman, Jerry Nadler, who represents this area. Thank you, Jerry, for being such a great fighter for us in Washington. I don't know if Carolyn Maloney is here, but I want to thank her for her stewardship of this project for many, many years. Carolyn Maloney. Jan Oliver, you'll be hearing from him briefly, not briefly, hopefully briefly. We have a train to catch. That wasn't Freudian, I meant that. But truly, the definition of leadership and perseverance to get something quite incredible done. It was amazing to see you in operation there, Jana, but thank you. And Kathy Rinaldi, our Metro North leader, our president of the whole operation here, make sure that the trains are running on time. But Kathy Rinaldi, thank you for all you do at the Long Island Railroad. Steve Goodman, our Federal Transit Administration Regional 2 Administrator. Thank you, Steve. Keep the money coming. We're excited about doing so much more. Anthony Simon, the sheet metal smart, we'll just call you smart. They're smart, Anthony. So, Catherine Garcia, who's the head of statewide operations for all of us. Our borough president, Mark Levine, has joined us. I also see that we have Steve Ballone in the house here, coming all the way from Long Island. The council members, let's see, who else do we have here? It's all I got on my list. Keith Powers, I'm looking right at you, Keith Powers. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I also want to thank the men and women of labor who got the job done. This place is glorious. You saw that this work was dangerous. John Durso and so many others, Manny Arasich, unbelievable what was accomplished here. This is truly beautiful. It really is breathtaking. And it's such an extraordinary testament to the hard work that our labor unions and our friends have accomplished once again. You know, today we make history. Finally, people have a chance to experience something that is magnificent, that is worthy of New York. And the story can be told literally in decades. It can be told over the years. It's been 112 years since the last extension of the Long Island Railroad, long time in coming. 110 years since the first new major terminal here in New York, 110 years. 67 years since the last major terminal was built in this country. 60 years ago, people who were big dreamers thought of this very project back in 1963. They envisioned this, they talked about this. And 25 years ago, the whole thing started. My gosh. A lot of people have come and gone. A lot of people believed in this project who are not there with us today. But we honor them for being the visionaries that we're known for here in this great state. It's long overdue, but we won't worry about that. It's here. The day has finally arrived when we start focusing on the needs of our commuters, hardworking men and women looking to get to their jobs or get back home to their families. And again, we're making a positive difference in the lives of everyday New Yorkers. That's what excites me. I love infrastructure. I love building. I love blowing things up, blowing up tunnels, starting over. It's all right. I love it all. But when I know that we're improving the quality of life for our commuters coming in from Long Island, coming in from Queens, that they can finally get something that is so precious and is more time back in their lives. Think about what you can do. An extra 20 minutes, 40 minutes, 80 minutes. You can work out, get a good exercise program going in the morning. You can pack the kids' lunches, make sure you're not late for their soccer game. A little time for yourself. I'm a mom, I know that's a rare commodity. But you don't have to navigate also that hectic commute across Midtown. I mean, the logic of it is just so genius. We're trying to bring people, many of them want to come to the east side. This is a vibrant part of our city. But you have to go all the way across to Penn Station, and we'll get to that another time, but not too far in the future. We're fixing Penn Station. I want to make that as glorious as this. But then you have to backtrack all the way across the city. So when you're on a train, every minute matters. And we have had the most brilliant people engineering this feat for such a long time. And I think about not just people collectively, but I stay in hotels in Midtown all the time, one in particular. And I become friends with everybody, and some of the people who work there have to get up really early in the morning and make that commute to go to their jobs. They go across town and have to come back. Just to give the precious gift of 40 more minutes, the woman who cleans the rooms in the hotels, or the people who work the elevators, make the food for us, that is what I'm so happy about. And I want to thank everybody who believed in this project, who never gave up on it. And I believe that we start talking about making our commutes easier, but also safer, just as the mayor and I announced not that long ago that our subway trains, for example, have seen a 20% decline in crime since we announced our initiative back in October to add more cops and cameras on the trains, help people who need care. 20% drop. I know we even have better numbers to announce, but I'm not going to announce them today. Give people that sense of confidence, give them time back. Their job is waiting for them, and there's no stopping us now. We are on the verge of accelerating the New York comeback story with this project alone. We're going to have we're adding 274 more trains each weekday. How is that possible, Jano? That's amazing. 274 more trains each weekday between Long Island and Midtown. It's a 41% increase in service. Improvements are going to be connecting other parts of our city. Metro North, 4 metro stations in the Bronx so people can get connected to the good-paying jobs right here. That is life-changing. That is how we eliminate transit deserts. We also opened the 3rd track, cutting down on delays. I mean, the trains are really running on time. That's not just a cliche. Kathy, they're really running on time. The numbers are extraordinary. And I don't have to bring anyone back to that nightmare, the summer of hell or nightmare, whatever, 2017. Is that, some of you still may have PTSD. But my gosh, we didn't just say that's how it has to be. Sorry about that. Commuters, we said that's not good enough. So under Kathy's leadership, Jano's leadership, we've really improved our on-time numbers. So it's reliable. It's reliable. You know you're going to get home in time to catch that game. You know you're going to get to work on time. That's what makes a difference. And we have so many more ideas on how we're going to reduce congestion. It's good for the environment, more people taking public transportation. Yes, that's why we do this. But also continue to work with our Penn Station reconstruction, 2nd Avenue subway, working on the Gateway Tunnel. We have so much more work to do. And I'll let the Majority Leader speak to those because he is behind every single one of them. He believes in this. He believes in this. But with the shops and the restaurants and the stunning space and the artwork, New Yorkers are going to be very different. No more looking at the ground and just kind of shuffling along, looking at your iPhone. People are going to look up. Look up, feel good about life. Feel that step in their feet, that energy that we lost for a few years during that pandemic when there was so much uncertainty, felt so beaten down. I'm here to declare with the opening of this incredible terminal and this connection, making life easier for commuters. This city is back, and we are back stronger than ever before. And I am so excited to be taking that train. And with that, let me open up to our Majority Leader, the one and only Chuck Schumer.
All right. We are one great team. We really are. I get the money and she gets to spend it. And it's fun for both of us. But anyway, it is great to be here today. I thank our governor for her leadership. You know, it's great to have a great partner. I can tell you through the years, I've always fought hard to bring money to New York. And sometimes it's not so easy. Sometimes it's not so easy because the partners you have different ideas and different ways of doing things and don't really want to be much part of a team. But when you can find somebody who cares about helping the people, number one, and working as a teammate to get this done, it makes the ability of those of us like Jerry and myself to get federal dollars here so much the easier. And then when you know it's going to be spent well, it makes you even fight harder for more dollars. So I want to thank our governor for the good job that she has done. Now, we're here today because the train, finally, is quite literally about to leave the station. Tens of thousands of transit riders in Long Island and elsewhere can breathe a sigh of relief. Thousands and thousands and thousands of Long Islanders and others who work on the East Side will get the convenience they craved. They won't have to cross town in the rain, sleet, snow, and heat and wind just to get to work. And finally, we're also able, after years where people said our transit system is finished, close to finished, we are rolling up our sleeves and expanding this transit system, this lifeblood of New York, everywhere. From East Side Access to Gateway to Metro North, all of it making the lives of New Yorkers easier and tens of thousands of new good-paying union jobs throughout the New York metropolitan area. Now, it's been quite a journey. The average New Yorker's asking himself, why did it take so effing long? Well, I've been here through much of it. I've funded a lot of it. But let me tell you the story. It's a long saga of how New York works and sometimes doesn't work. This idea actually started, and I want to be as bipartisan as possible. This idea started with one Alphonse D'Amato, who was then the senator from New York. And he had the idea. And he was gracious. When I beat him for Senate in '98, he said, this is one idea that I hope you'll carry through. And it wasn't easy, and we began to carry through on it. But why did it take so effing long? Well, then, what happened? 9/11. The tragedy of 9/11. And we had to spend the next 4 or 5 years working on bringing back New York and bringing all the money that we brought to New York and building us back. And then finally, we're beginning to deal with 9/11, and we get a Democratic Senate for the first time in 2006, and I put the first $2.7 billion into this project. Well, so we began to move forward. But then George Bush, as president, and the financial crisis said, no more, got to use the money elsewhere. And of course, then Sandy came in. We got $60 billion for Sandy, but it wasn't going East Side Access, it was going to rebuild New York once again. And then after Sandy, something else happened that stopped us from getting the money. It's a 5-letter word beginning with T. Trump. He didn't want to give a nickel to New York Transit. So then he's gone. And then what happens? We're right away ready to put some more help in. COVID. But actually, with the $14 billion, $15 billion that I got that saved mass transit during COVID actually helped this go forward. Because the governor didn't have to put her funds into getting mass transit going, but instead could continue funding this East Side Access project. So it took a long time. And there were a lot of hardheads who wanted to stop us from working. But we have a harder head. And East Side Access got done. And we're so happy about it. I kept my hard hat on all throughout, and here we are. The train is about to leave the station at long last. Hallelujah. Why is it so important? Well, we talked about it. You don't have that long commute. You know, the New York transit system was built sort of funny. If you lived in Long Island, you had to go to the west side. If you lived in Westchester, you had to go to Grand Central in the east side. That was a system that didn't make that much sense. Didn't mean that everyone who lived on Long Island said, oh, I'll get a job on the west side, and everyone who lived in Westchester said, oh, I'll get a job on the east side. So this East Side Access fixes the first part of the problem. Going from Long Island, you can go to either Penn Station or to Grand Central. And then I was able to cut a deal, and I want to thank Jeno and Tony Kosha of Amtrak that said, we are now going to have the trains from Westchester build 4 new stations in the Bronx, as the governor mentioned, the East Bronx, a transit desert that needs help. And they will be able to go to Penn Station. So when that is finished, finally, our metropolitan commuter transit system will have a real degree of rationality. No matter which suburb you live in, you can work on either east side or west side and have a good, convenient commute. You don't have to walk through the rain and the sleet and the snow and the wind and the heat to get to work once you get off the train. So this is a great thing happening. And I just want to say this. Once these 2 dreams are completed, the one today and the one later, the transit system, like New York, will shine like a gem on top of the Chrysler Building. It's now a great gem, but it'll be totally polished and as beautiful as it ever can be together. So, we got to keep working. Transit is our lifeblood. This city is the greatest city in the world because millions and millions of people can commute throughout the metropolitan area easier than any other city in the country. The reason we're better than every other city. The reason, New York, people forget this. Oh, no one wants to live in big cities? In the 2010 census, New York State had 8.1 million people. In the 2020 census, New York had 8.9 million people. We gained 800,000 people from all across the country and all across the world, each one of them in a certain sense immigrants, whether they be immigrants from other parts of the country or here. Because people want to live in this city. And they want to live in a densely populated, diverse place where people learn from each other and bump into each other and interact with each other. But the only way we can do that is keep expanding mass transit, our rail and our buses, and every other kind of mass transit that there is. If our mass transit stays static, New York stays static. But what we've shown here today, and what we will continue to show New York, is that our mass transit is going to keep moving. Because there's one thing about New York and one thing about Chuck Schumer. We're never static. Thank you, everybody. It's a great afternoon, and I'm honored to be part of it. Now, couldn't get this all done unless you had real faith in the MTA and the person who runs it, who's going to do a hardworking, on the merits, terrific job. And we got just the guy. I've known him for years and years and years. And when he took this job, I said, I'm glad you're taking this job because you're the best guy for the job, Jeno LIRR. My staff is great with those props.
Wow. So as the governor and Senator Schumer have pointed out, this project is a game changer for Long Islanders. Shorter commutes, more service, more options to get where you're headed. But Grand Central Madison also demonstrated how here in New York, and the senator alluded to it, we are using investments in mass transit to address the big issues. Counterintuitive, but New York is the greenest urban area in America because of mass transit. When we grow our transit capacity by 40%, like this project does for Long Island, we're striking a blow in the long-term fight against climate change. And it's also a big leap forward for resiliency. If another superstorm Sandy, and thank you, Senator, for everything you did to make sure that New York had a shot at recovering. The MTA's facilities right now are completely different than they were before Superstorm Sandy because of what you were able to get for us. But if another Superstorm Sandy or another climate emergency or, God forbid, a public safety emergency happens ever again, it's going to make a huge difference that we have a second connection across the East River. You've all heard about the Gateway Project. Senator Schumer is shepherding that forward every day. That's going to fix the deteriorating Hudson River tunnels and build new crossings. Well, this is New York's gateway to the east, Long Island's gateway. It's done. It's done. Thank you. It's also a huge shot in the arm for social and economic equity. For perhaps 10% of the annual cost of owning an automobile, mass transit gives working class and middle class New Yorkers access to jobs, education, healthcare, everything throughout our amazing metropolitan region. And the dramatic uptick in reverse commuting, this is overlooked by our friends in the press, the dramatic uptick in reverse commuting made possible by this project unlocks access to thousands of good-paying Long Island jobs for folks in Queens and Brooklyn. And for Long Island businesses, it means for the first time they get to draw on the entire pool of labor, of talent throughout the New York region. That is smart economic development. That's Kathy Hochul economic development. That's Chuck Schumer economic development. Thank you. And thankfully, we have a generation of leaders who get this, get all of this. In the last 18 months, I've been able to work closely with Governor Hochul, not just at groundbreakings and ribbon cuttings, although we've fortunately had plenty of them, but on the hard issues like hurricane response, subway safety, MTA finances. She's passionate about protecting New York's future by investing in infrastructure and making sure that mass transit is frequent, reliable, and thanks to your amazing partnership with the mayor, safe. And of course, we wouldn't be here without Chuck Schumer, our guardian angel in Washington, who made, literally by his own steady and determined leadership, made the Biden infrastructure plan happen. And now with the law in place, he's working to make sure every day that all the regionally important projects, and they got listed before, Gateway, Penn reconstruction, Metro North Penn Station access, East River tunnel rehabilitations, and soon the 2nd Avenue subway, phase 2, are going to be funded. So thank you, Senator Schumer. So nowhere has the New York commitment, and I so appreciate the way the senator put it, the New York commitment to investing in infrastructure as a strategy for making our region more prosperous but also more equitable. Nowhere has that commitment been more evident than on Long Island, to name just a few of the recent LIRR projects that have transformed this system. In the last few years, we knocked out mainline double track, the 10-mile-long third track project. All the team that made that happen is here today. The new Elmont Station, the first Long Island Railroad station in 40 years, and the new and expanded Penn Station Long Island Railroad Concourse. If you haven't seen it, it feels in Penn Station, in 20% of Penn Station, you feel like you're in the new LaGuardia Airport. Then you turn your head and you're still in the old Penn Station. But it shows what we can accomplish. It shows what we can accomplish. 4 mega projects worth $4 billion, all of them on time and on budget. That's right. In recent years, and I'm going to brag a little, in recent years, MTA Construction Development, now headed by my friend Jamie Torres Springer, has emerged as a world-class mega project developer. We're changing things a little bit. So shouting out to our partners in the unionized building trades. You showed up every day through the COVID pandemic, along with the Long Island Railroad workforce. So I gotta give a hand to Gary LaBarber, representing the New York building construction trades, Matty Arasich, who's here, John Durst, who are here, Anthony Simon, representing Long Island Railroad workers. You really turned out, and that's why we're here today. Obviously, delivering Grand Central Madison was never a walk in the park. When I came to the MTA, people actually whispered to me, stay away from it, it'll ruin your reputation. But in 2018, we decided to tear the project apart and put it back together again. We swore off scheduled slippage, swore it off, said never again, we're gonna move the schedule, and brought in Rob Troop to reorganize the talent that was already on hand and get the project across the finish line. I need to thank everybody who worked to bring us to this point. Some for 10, even 20 years. There are people here that I never met, but whose names are part of the history of this project. And I can't name everyone, but you know who you are. If you worked on this project, please stand up and take a bow. And there are a lot of people who didn't work directly on the project, but had to carry a lot of the weight over the years. Some of them are former MTA chairs: Jay Walder, Joe Loda, Tom Prendergast, Pat Foy, Freddie Ferrer. Thank you. And we've also got a lot of key MTA and Long Island Railroad officials: Helena Williams, Pat Nowakowski, Phil Eng, Linda Kleinbaum, Bob Ferrand, Elisa Pica. All of you put a lot of heart and soul in this, and we got to acknowledge you. So many people contribute. I got a call this week from someone who told me that he had been the first driver of the tunnel boring machine when it started to knock through that Manhattan bedrock, and he asked to be recognized at this event. I didn't know what to say, so I just responded, I'll have to get back to you, Congressman Santos. More seriously. All right, we got to settle down. But I do have to be serious now, because I want to acknowledge those who didn't make it to see this day, and there are important people who are in that category. One of them was Michael O'Brien. He was a journeyman sandhog who was killed while working on the project in 2011. Michael's family is here with us today, all the way from Wisconsin. His father, Rob, who also worked on East Side Access, his mother, Judy, and his sister, Kelly, as well as the union leader of the Sandhogs. I want to just note that we're going to put up a plaque honoring Michael somewhere in the concourse. And thank you for being here. Thank you. We also tip our hat to our departed colleague, Bill Wheeler, the longtime head of MTA's planning division, who worked with every MTA chair who's here today, and who was on the ground floor putting together the project together, and who dreamed of this day for so many years. Bill, we know you're up there, and we know you're smiling. So in closing, I say we are thinking of all the colleagues and the leaders who came before us to create the Long Island Railroad, to create this amazing transit system that is a gift to us as New Yorkers, to mark this milestone. It's part of their legacy, and now it's part of yours as well. Thank you so much. Now I get to introduce Kathy Rinaldi. I'll say a couple things about her. One is Long Island Railroad and Metro North have had record on-time performance, 96 and 97% in the last year. That's because of Kathy Rinaldi, so let's give her a hand for that. We want people to come back to New York, hire Kathy Rinaldi to run the railroads. She's doing the job of two men, as you may have noticed. And she is the one when we had the prior leader of the railroad retired, I asked Kathy, can you push the railroad's readiness over the finish line to get ready for East Side Access in 9 months. And she said she would, and she did. Kathy Rinaldi.
Thanks for coming, everybody. This is such an exciting day. I could not be more thrilled to be up here to welcome you to this beautiful new space at Grand Central Madison. If you're here for the first time, we really hope that you love everything that you see as you make your way through this gorgeous new space. There's less than 1 day to go now until we can truly declare that the vision from so long ago, made possible through years of planning and construction, is fully and finally here. The dawn of Long Island Railroad service to Grand Central will revolutionize how people get around our region for work and for play, how they plan, what they plan, how they travel, how they can use this wonderful public transportation system to their advantage. The governor cited the facts and figures. An increase of 41% service. We'll be adding almost 300 daily trains that were not there before, bringing people around the system, serving customers, providing so many new ways for people to get around the nation. We also want our customers from Long Island and Metro North to investigate the possibilities of this beautiful new Grand Central Madison concourse as a transfer point and let their sense of adventure soar. Using our new combo ticket, which debuts tomorrow, traditional Metro North customers will need only one ticket to experience the beautiful beaches and food scene of Long Island. Long Islanders can head to Yankee Stadium, the scenic Hudson Valley, or out to New Haven for some pizza. It is a new and wonderful day, new flexibility, new convenience for our customers. So I'm going to wrap it up very quickly, but I do want to say that I was getting ready this morning and I was trying to decide what to wear, and I had the radio on and I was listening to Instant Karma by John Lennon. And for old Beatles fans like us, I'm not going to sing it. You should be happy that I'm not going to sing for you. But I am going to come back to the refrain that old Beatles fans like us know. Well, we all shine on like the moon and the stars and the sun. And I thought of that as I was getting ready to think about what to say today, because this is the day for so many of us to shine. For the C&D team, for Jamie and his team, for the capital construction team before Jamie that delivered this beautiful project, for the MTA leadership, many of whom I used to work for, the union leaders, Long Island Railroad leadership, also who I worked for, and last but not least, for the proud and the dedicated Long Island Railroad workforce. We cannot wait to get going tomorrow on delivering this transformational service for our customers. Long Island Railroad will shine like it never has before. And as I stand up here today, I cannot help but think about the future generations of Long Island Railroad employees who won't know anything different. They'll take this all for granted. As I have been saying all day, you can work 100 years in public transportation and never have a day like today. We should all enjoy this wonderful and miraculous day. I could not be more grateful. I could not be more excited. Another hand for the wonderful team that brought us here today. And now I am thrilled to introduce Steve Goodman, our partner from FTA.
Well, thank you, Kathy, and good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of FTA Administrator Noria Fernandez, Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, and the Biden-Harris administration, I'm very excited to be here today to celebrate the grand opening of Grand Central Madison. A special welcome and thank you to Governor Hochul, Senator Schumer and Congressman Nadler, who all are great advocates for transportation across the country and here in New York. Chairman and CEO John Lieber, Long Island Railroad Interim President Catherine Rinaldi, MTA Construction Development President Jamie Torres Springer, thank you for your leadership delivering this project of national significance. Your team at the MTA did an incredible job completing this project, especially with the lingering effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. I would also like to recognize my team at the Federal Transit Administration, many of whom are here today, including our lead engineer on the project for over 15 years, Ralph Branch, our community planner who led the environmental review process, Donald Burns, and Brigid Hines-Cherin, who was the regional administrator during the early important stages of this project, and I know will love the art as much as she loves the station. So we are grateful for your service. This project, as everyone has said, is a game changer for Long Island Railroad commuters, giving them direct access to the east side of Manhattan and helping New Yorkers to work, to school, the doctor's offices, their favorite restaurant, and to all the places that make this city the best place on earth. Approximately 45% of all Long Island Railroad commuters, or roughly 160,000 passengers per day, are expected to travel through this beautiful terminal, which will have many benefits. First, many Long Islanders will have shorter commutes. Second, Penn Station will be less crowded. Third, the station has the potential to unlock new economic growth in Midtown East. And finally, and this is important, trains at the Harold Interlocking in Queens, one of the largest railroad junctions in North America, which serves Long Island Railroad, Amtrak, soon Metro North, will move along the Northeast Corridor more efficiently, and a huge benefit to travelers between Boston and Washington, D.C. Overall, this project will expand and strengthen the regional rail network, protecting it from future bottlenecks and maintenance issues. Grand Central Madison is a great example of the type of project President Biden and the members of Congress envisioned to be part of the bipartisan infrastructure law. We have them to thank for the unprecedented amount of support for public transportation, which is a lifeline for millions of us in New York. I'm also so proud of the role the federal government played in Grand Central Madison, which represents the largest capital investment grant in history and the largest project ever supported by the Federal Transit Administration. In total, the federal government has invested around $2.7 billion in funding this world-class facility, which will serve many generations to come. Let me conclude by saying that the United States Department of Transportation and the Federal Transit Administration will continue to support and advance critical infrastructure projects in the region, which we know are essential to improve mobility and grow our economy. I look forward to attending more events like this one. Thank you. I will turn it over to Anthony Simon. Thank you.
Thank you. What a great crowd. What a great day. Let's hear it, right? You know, coming up here as the closer, you get to tell everybody how they stole all of your words, because now you don't have to write it down. But, you know, I've waited a long time, 33 years working for the railroad, and I'm looking at that third row, and I've worked with every single person in that third row, from chairman, president, and it's been an honor and a privilege to do everything we did to get to where we are today. So thank you all. To the men and women of labor, we've got to hear it for them and for the ultimate sacrifice that was paid by the O'Brien family. Our hearts will always be with you. So thank you. Let's hear it for the men and women of labor. That's right. Senator Schumer, the leader that we needed in Washington, the leader that we have and we hope we keep for a very long time, has done so much for the MTA infrastructure around this state. We thank you. We appreciate you. To someone I can consider a friend, a tremendous leader, someone who's always had the MTA's back, but always had labor's back. Someone who's not only fulfilling in her promise to get this done, but someone who has stood by labor, stood by the men and women day in and day out, and also has put jobs into this economy. All the jobs from the stores up here that you're going to see is because of you. All the jobs that are going to come on the railroad and labor is because of you. Senator, because of you, we thank you. Our partnership, Jano, Kathy, has been tremendous. To get here was no easy task. So I'm going to end on that and say I'm going to keep it brief because we need the keys and we need to get to work, and that's what we're going to do. So thank you, everyone, and I ask you to join us here for the unveiling.
Jerry. Let's do. All right. Now we are going to unveil